left because the framing is off. That's good. That's better. That's way better. Okay.
Good morning, Pittsburgh. Welcome to Pitt to the Point, live from the state-of-the-art Pitt studios. I'm Jacqueline Napier.
And I'm Vineet Joshi. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning.
Pitt to the Point covers everything going on at the University of Pittsburgh.
All the way to the point. We cover news for the entire Pittsburgh area. We'll be discussing everything going on in the city, from entertainment, politics, and sports, to keep up with what's happening on campus at the University of Pittsburgh as well.
But most importantly, we're getting you folks ready to start off your Pittsburgh day right.
Alex Kucherienko and Anna Libick are Pitt freshmen, both of who are Ukrainian Americans as well as members of the Ukraine Culture Club.
Our producer, Gavin Hitchens, had the chance to speak with Alex and Anna, who were kind enough to share their experiences and perspective on the current situation in Ukraine.
So I was born in Ukraine and most of my family was there. It's just it's hard, when they're going through all of this right now and just not being able to connect with them.
I'm a Ukrainian. I'm born and raised. I lived there for 15 years. Just looking at what is going on right now, it's devastating. It's my friend, my loved ones, everybody is in the city. And it's just tough to talk about it. The fact that our president, he's showing that he's not afraid to protect his nation, it is a strong statement, not only to our nation, but to the nations around the world. We are a country of 14 million people. People are fleeing, but it doesn't stop the government.
Honestly, I'm just so glad that he is the one representing our country right now.
He was able to make our country progress to the point where right now the European Commission is talking about Ukraine joining the European Union. We got to the point where NATO is thinking about helping Ukraine. We got to the point where he's regularly conversing with the United States president. So I would say that was definitely a great step and change in our politics. United States is a country that is built out of immigrants. Historically, Europeans, Asians, Africans, people from every single continent. My father moved to this country. He is working, progressing, he's paying his taxes, we're doing donations, we're doing everything we can to support the nation where we live in right now. So by taking these people in for now, letting them stay, letting them be refugees, I can guarantee the fact that most of them will come back. They would definitely support the locals, but then when they feel safe enough to come back, they want to come back. They want to come back to their houses and homes.
It's just my family is also there. My grandparents are in the city right now. They're every time I call them, I ask them, "How are you? How did the night go? Did you sleep? Did you hear anything?" And they always say we're fine, we're good. And I know it's just so they just say it so we don't get upset, though, so we don't worry. But it doesn't work. I know what's happening. I know that they're not safe. I cannot say that they're safe.
And today we are lucky enough to be joined by Alex, who grew up in Ukraine and is now studying microbiology here at Pitt.
Alex, we are so honored to have you join us today. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Vinny. Thank you very much. It is truly an honor. In the situation where we are right now, this is the best I can do as the member of Pittsburgh community and as a Ukrainian citizen.
Alex, thank you. Could you please explain the current situation in Ukraine, as well as what led up to it in your perspective?
Definitely. It is a complex process, which I would say started off almost 20 years ago. Even though my country's been independent for over 30 years, it has been devastating how dependent we are on the Russian Federation and the structure of our economy. And even if you look back into the early 2000s, when was the rise of our economy, President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has stated that the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest disaster of the 20th century. So I would say the plan of this reunification of my country with Russia was started back in the day, back in 2005, and has been proceeding up to this moment. And I should say that people who are currently in Ukraine and the major cities of Kiev, Tomar, Kharkov, Kherson, all of them are currently struggling. They're afraid. They're being bombed. They're trying to shelter in place. They're trying to survive. I get messages every single morning, and it's just honestly devastating. My friends are asking me whether I'm all right, and I have survivor's guilt because I'm sitting here in Pittsburgh, laying in my bed, having dinner with my friends, while they're literally praying to stay alive the next morning.
Yeah, and obviously that is really hard to like handle that fact while you're here and your family is all the way over there, and it's like you can't really do anything about it directly. Why don't you take us back to the moment, the very first time you learned that these attacks were beginning in your home city of Kiev? What was it like? What were you doing? What feelings were going through your mind?
It was definitely a feeling of disbelief because I had a strong reassurance that we're living in the 21st century and that the violence that's been going on is just temporary. The invasion of the eastern parts of Ukraine, the annexation of Crimea, I thought everything was in the past and that we're moving towards the Europeanized future, that we're trying to restore our sovereignty. But then when at 10:30 p.m. on a Wednesday night, I got a message from my friend telling me that it has started, telling me that she's trying to flee her home city, trying to flee my neighborhood, going to Poland's border. Her car broke down midway in the middle of the forest. That was my disbelief. I couldn't just perceive the fact that our neighbors, who claimed to be our brothers back in the day, could do such a thing.
Now, Alex, you were talking about your loved ones in Ukraine. I know that a significant part of the issue has been a lack of contact being able to be made. How have you been able to make this contact, and have you been able to make it with all of your relatives?
Thank you for asking. For the first couple of days, it definitely was easy because major points of telecommunication were not targeted. So we were lucky enough to be in touch almost every second of the day. Further on, there have been issues because after the civilian involvement started, the buildings, houses were basically bombed. The connection points for the internet and for the television, everything has been targeted, and it's just devastating how sometimes I was calling my grandmother and she would not pick up the phone. And I would have to question myself, is she alive? Was that time that I called her 1 hour ago the last time I talked to her in general, in my lifetime? And will I be able to find her when I come back, if I come back at all? Because after bombing the airports, after destroying all the infrastructure of the country, I have mere hope for coming back to the place which I used to call home.
Yeah, and luckily we have some countries and neighbors and fellow humans and Europeans who, like Germany, for example, who have been kind enough to take in Ukrainian refugees. You see they're at the train station taking in, with signs saying, I have this much space available, these many rooms for any refugees that are, welcome. What are your thoughts on that type of care? Does that instill any sort of hope within you? And moreover, what kind of aid can others provide, including us right here at Pitt, to you and fellows like you and with ties in Ukraine?
Oh, definitely. It truly shows me that the hope is not completely lost, that we still have people who are trying to be open-hearted, who are trying to help us out in this current situation. We always thought that our neighbors would be the ones to help us, meaning Russia and Belarus. But as you know, as the proverb says, that you test your friends in your hardest moments in your life. And Germany, France, Spain, Switzerland, Sweden, countries, they've proven the fact that they are our true friends, that we should lead towards the Western integration, and that we now have the general direction of movements. As for the help from the Pitt community, from the people of the United States, I would say be informed. That is the first thing. A lot of people tend to think that that is not an issue that concerns them, but taking into account what happened to the nuclear plant earlier this morning, that could have been a catastrophe of the world scale. Not only Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but this thing could be 6 times as large. We have to take that into account. If that had happened, the evacuation of Europe would have been inevitable. So I would think, stay for your ideology, stay for who you are, and just try to protect your loved ones in the first place. And to avoid the situation, go and protest, try to sign petitions, do all you can, and this will not be forgotten.
Of course.
Alex, lastly, could you tell us about the local protest? What does that mean to you as a Ukrainian citizen to see that here in Pittsburgh?
That definitely shows me a lot of dedication from people of Pittsburgh and from our Ukrainian diaspora. Once again, it says our hope is not lost, and that is definitely something that encouraged everyone and myself to believe that there is still something in this world.
Right. Alex, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really appreciate it.
All of us at Pitt to the Point are sending loving hope and thoughts to you and your family, as well as all of those in Ukraine.
Thank you.
And in response to the ongoing struggle in Ukraine, a group of Pitt parents are trying to help any Pitt students, just like Alex, who have family ties in the country.
That's right, Vineet. Members of the Pitt Parents 2025 Facebook group have taken it upon themselves to provide financial assistance in the form of gift cards or coupons.
And we certainly hope that those affected in any way by the terrible struggle in Ukraine at least don't have to worry about their survival right here at the University of Pittsburgh.
Please consider contributing this effort if you are able to. As I said earlier, our thoughts are with the Ukrainian citizens. Vineet, now some of our audience may be used to seeing you as medical reporter, but we now have the privilege of introducing our new medical correspondent, Tyler Vandenberg.
Yeah, that's right, Jackie. And Tyler, we have a very interesting story for us from you. Tyler, can you tell us about these new mask mandates?
Thanks, Jackie and Vineet. Last week, the CDC altered long-standing mask-wearing guidelines to incorporate data on hospitalizations and require indoor masking only in areas at high risk of infection. The Medical Minute team caught up with some Pitt students to ask their reaction to the new guidelines.
Honestly, what I think about the new mandate is it's a little foolish. I think the media cycle we have is a little too quick, and we forget about the things that still affect us, like this is off topic, but like Ukraine and Russia has completely dominated the media cycle to the point where a lot of people I think have forgot about COVID. Even my own mom said like COVID's not a thing anymore, which is clearly false.
Under the new guidance, Allegheny County and others surrounding it are considered to be low-risk areas. These are areas where the only prevention steps the CDC recommends are vaccinations and testing for those with symptoms. Allegheny County Executive Rich Fitzgerald said COVID-19 related cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are all on the decline. He also noted that over 800,000 residents have been fully vaccinated and close to 1 million have gotten at least one dose.
I think it's probably a good thing that we're moving towards releasing the mask mandates because we want to get back to doing things normally, right? And wearing masks indoors allowed us to go back to having in-person classes and other things like that. But now that everyone's vaccinated, booster rates are higher, almost everyone's gotten their booster. It makes sense that we can drop the mask mandate except for in high-risk areas.
In response to the new CDC guidance, just yesterday the University of Pittsburgh COVID-19 Medical Response Office, or CMRO, revealed that despite new CDC guidelines, Pitt will still require masks to be worn indoors. Changes to the university masking guidance are anticipated, but nothing will be announced until after the spring recess.
Inevitably, I think after spring break, cases are going to rise. That's not something that we can really prevent, but what we can do is kind of take it slow, and I think that's what the CMRO should do. And that likely is what they will do, because that's been the pattern they've followed.
Hopefully we just keep the same pace as what we've been doing now, because I'm graduating soon. I'm a junior, so it doesn't affect me too much, and I think the general safety and well-being of the student body is the most important thing here.
Locally, Robert Morris University dropped their indoor mask requirement for most situations on March 2nd. your Pitt to the Point Medical Minute team will continue to monitor developments to CDC and Allegheny County Health Department guidelines. We will also keep you updated on any new mask guidance issued by the University of Pittsburgh after spring break. For Pitt to the Point, I'm your medical reporter, Tyler Vandenberg. Vineet, Jackie.
Thank you so much for that update, Tyler. We really appreciate it.
After the break, we have a very important story about a 7-year-old boy from Butler County who is in the fight for his life. Stick around to find out how you could be the one who saves him.
H2P is short for Hail to Pitt, our Panther fight song, but we also use it to express just how much we love it here. There are so many reasons to hail, but here are just a few. Hail to Kathy!
Hail to the Nationality Room.
To WPTS Radio.
Hail to Oakland.
Hail to Shenley Plaza.
Hail to Forbes Avenue.
Hail to the towers.
Hail to Cardiac Hill.
To Hillman Library.
Hail to the University of Pittsburgh.
Hail to Pittsburgh.
Hail to Heinz Field.
Hail to Pitt.
And we are back with Pitt to the Point live from the state-of-the-art Pitt studios. Now, Jackie, you had the chance to sit down with the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, and his wife, Giselle, this week.
That's right, Vineet. We were talking about a cause that we're all very invested in, and that is finding a bone marrow donor for a local first grader named Jax. I was speaking with Jax's mother, Missy, yesterday, and I told her I got choked up just editing the story.
Yeah, I bet. Folks, let's take a look to learn how you could be the very miracle that Jax needs.
Jax Ramirez, a bubbly, happy 7-year-old that desperately needs your help. Jax was diagnosed with IPEX, an extremely rare genetic disorder affecting 1 in every 1.6 million people. Missy, Jax's mother, is doing everything in her power to find a life-saving bone marrow match for her son. She's enlisted the help of John Fetterman, Pennsylvania's Lieutenant Governor, and his wife Giselle to help spread awareness.
You see someone's life on Instagram, kids having fun, having these experiences, and knowing that his are so limited, I really connected with her as a mom. Her son is my youngest age. And to know that this is something that can happen to anyone. And if we all work to make sure that database is full, it will save so many more lives. And who knows who will need that in the future.
It's quick, easy, and painless to find out if you're a match.
You get the kit in the mail. It arrives right at your home. You open it up. It's these swabs. You swab yourself inside your cheeks. You mail it back. The envelope already has a stamp. It's all taken care of. And that's it. And it's in their system.
I wanted to make a point of anyone that's hesitant to I'm going to give my DNA. It's this is only about finding a match for a little boy who needs it to save his life. And it's about playing the odds. My wife and I have a significant social media presence, and that's why we want to get behind this, because it just takes that one donor. And there's 30 million that's not a match. The next literal donor sample could be the match, and that's what it's about. It just takes one, and we're just playing the odds and promoting it, because it would be a tragedy if somebody is willing but they just don't know that it exists, or they need to. So promoting it, I think, is just it goes without saying. It's something that we're eager to do, and we're grateful for you to spread the word, because it's one swab that could change and save this little boy's life.
And even if you're not a match for Jax, there are still many ways you can help.
Absolutely. So if you're not within the 18 to 40 window, please tell your friends who are, and share that with as many folks. And every one new person that's added to the registry can save someone else. If it's not the match for Jax right now, they will be a match for someone else. And we want as many diverse samples into the database. Right now, if you're a child of color, if you're Asian, if you're Black, if you're Latino, your chances of getting matched are much lower, because the database doesn't have that many samples in it. So more samples in the database will help all families.
Lieutenant Governor Fetterman also explained that public advocacy saved his own daughter's health.
Our daughter was in a situation too. It's called Know the Glow. Giselle noticed that in our daughter's one eye, it would always glow like gold color, and it was, no one really thought anything of it until we Googled, and it was like Know the Glow, and that advocacy and those that help, saved the vision in our daughter's eye, quite literally. And we promote it now too, and we've had at least half a dozen parents have reached out.
Gone blind.
Yeah, in her one eye. And it's like our child was dramatically benefited from the kind of advocacy that we want to do, and we just are trying to pay that forward. And at least half a dozen parents have contacted us and said, I noticed that, and I went and got checked, and we were able to get it worked in. So we've benefited from other people's kindness and advocacy, and we're paying this forward. And a match for Jax, you're not named publicly, you're not put on social media saying will they or will they not do it. It's like, this is private, and you have the ability to save a little boy's life. And if you can, it doesn't go any further than that. And today privacy is a big thing. There's suspicion. There's none of that involved in this.
I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Fetterman and the Second Lady for taking the time to speak with me. Jax's medical team cannot wait much longer to find him this life-saving donor. So folks, I implore you, if you are between the ages of 18 and 40 and want to try and be the max for Jax Ramirez, text JAX to 61474.
Once again, that's JAX, JAX, to 61474. Up next, we have our city beat reporter, Tori Pushman, joining us to tell us more about ESPN's High School Coach of the Year, Mount Lebanon's own Bob Palko. Tori?
Thank you, Vinny. Every year, the NFL chooses to recognize the achievements of one high school coach by naming a Coach of the Year. This time around, the NFL recognized Mount Lebanon High School football coach Bob Palko. Pitt to the Point's own Jackie Napier sat down with Bob to discuss the formula for the team's success.
Bob Palko led the Mount Lebanon Blue Devils to an undefeated regular season. What was his secret? Well, it wasn't some fancy new science or analytical technique.
All they had to do was worry about playing. They didn't have to worry about, they began to trust, they began to learn how to become a team. And I think once that happened, their overall abilities were able to take place. And then, at any time, you don't plan on going 15-0 and, just how it went. I mean, we were fortunate, and we were probably a little bit of luck along the way, but, we'll take that.
Yep. Sometimes it really just comes down to the basics. You may not be able to coach 15-0, but you can coach your team to play hard and play well.
Winning's kind of a byproduct, I think, of doing things properly. And And I think that starts with, obviously, yeah, it starts with me, but it starts with the kids. I mean, that trust amongst the coach and, that they trust that you're going to put, the pandemic was crazy, that everybody, went through. But for some of our kids, it was, for the first time in their life, they ate more, they slept more because they didn't have to go to school, and they trained more. And what happened was their bodies changed. And so all of a sudden, I think we got a little bit of clout, so to speak, because now they, hey, do you want to get everything we told them came to life.
It was these qualities in Coach Palko that were recognized by the NFL when selecting their high school coach of the year. And despite all of the acclaim from the Steelers, the NFL, and football as a whole, Coach Palko knew that it was a team effort that brought the Blue Devils their championship season.
You better adapt and adjust, and you better change the way things are. And I think, we've done a good job with that just by hiring younger guys and just trusting people to come in and show me how to do it. I don't have all the answers, but I think you got to learn to adapt and adjust to the way things are different now. The game's different now. I don't care what anyone says. The way in which you coach today's got to be different.
3, 2.
Thanks for that, Jackie. The Blue Devils are hoping to defend their championship title next season, and you can join them in their quest starting in August. With Pitt to the Point, I've been City Beat reporter Tori Pushman. Jackie, Vineet.
Thank you so much for that, Tori. A big congratulations to Coach Palko and the Mount Lebanon football team on their state title.
How cool is that, Vineet? Up next, we're proud to collaborate with the Pitt News to share their 4 biggest news stories of the week.
That's right, Jackie. Matthew Hammer has those for us. Let's take a look. Hundreds of people rallied Sunday evening in downtown Pittsburgh in support of Ukraine in the face of Russia's recent invasion, waving flags, praying, and singing the Ukrainian national anthem. Ben Ashudo spent months researching and interviewing residents to capture America's changing suburban landscape on film. His final product was Next Stop, a 13-minute documentary in which he poses an existential question for towns like Leonia. Pitt softball entered the Wings ETC Classic in South Carolina with a record that was just 1 game over 500. But after the dust settled from all 4 games played this weekend, the Panthers found their record well above average.
This sort of centers around this one vote that was taken by SGB. One of their primary jobs is to approve funding for other student organizations. And there was a request from Rainbow Alliance, which had endorsed Daniel Floyd's Dream Slate in the run-up for the vote for the board next year. And Daniel Floyd apparently said to the board that she would abstain from the vote since they had been behind her for the election, but then it ended up that she voted for the request, and that was what led to her losing her title as a vice president. She declined to comment in detail to us about the circumstances surrounding this.
And we'd like to thank the Pitt News and Matthew Hammer for their amazing coverage of those stories.
Now, political reporter Jamie Ely is here to tell us about the new president of the student body government. Jamie?
Although a shocking demotion and resignation occurred days before this year's student government board election, it went relatively smoothly, and we now have a winner. I'm sitting down with SGB President-elect Danielle Floyd to discuss the election and her future initiatives as president. Danielle, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Jamie.
I first would like to congratulate you on your win. It was by a pretty big margin, I would say. And, it's got to be exciting being the next president.
Yeah, no, it definitely is really exciting. I'm just really excited to kind of hit the ground running when it comes to executing my vision for the student government board, and just making sure we're kind of serving students. But yeah.
Speaking of that vision, what are you planning on your first act as president?
Yes, I think the biggest thing is we talked to a whole bunch of different organizations throughout the whole campaign cycle. So I think my first order of business is to go back to all the organizations that we talked to throughout the whole campaign cycle, and explain to them what my vision is for the government board and figuring out, what should we be prioritizing through talking with them and figuring out, what issues should we be working on and how do we create opportunities to kind of bring them into the room to work on these different initiatives and things.
Great. And my next question is, one of the main issues you ran on was advocating for students. What does this mean specifically for the student body? How are we going to benefit from it?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to advocating for students, one of the biggest things that I kind of see in the student government board is that we kind of stay up and off our 8th floor of the Willie Pitt Union, and we don't really get up there, my honest opinion, enough to kind of really get up there and really talk to students. And so my whole thing is to how can we better engage students with SGB? How can we better serve them? And so I think that just starts with having more dialogue with students. And so I really want to do that by having traveling office hours. The whole point of traveling office hours is to go to public areas like Nora campus that are popular, like the Willie Pitt Union, like the Pitt, really kind of getting out there and talking to the different students. And my other big thing that I want us to kind of be is I want us to kind of be a bridge between students and administration, and I want us to make sure that we're doing our very best to, if someone has a claim to complete anything, connecting them with the administrator that will best be able to kind of solve that issue, as well as working with them through the entire process to make sure that issue is kind of resolved.
Well, I got to say that definitely helped the student body. And speaking of the student body, another major issue you ran on was putting more funding towards a hybrid option for classes. Why is this necessary as the COVID-19 pandemic is subsiding?
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we are being mindful of, students who, are most vulnerable to COVID and things like that. And so I think it's really important for the university to just be flexible with those students and making sure we're getting everyone options to figure out, how are they most comfortable with engaging with being in classes and just, giving people options and things like that. But obviously, as the university goes about, updating their different policies and things like that, we will reevaluate how we kind of go about prioritizing and going about, what we invest in. But yeah, I just want to make sure everyone has options for engaging in whatever way they feel comfortable with. And yeah.
Absolutely. I know a lot of students benefited from that hybrid option, especially having sicknesses besides COVID. And anyone who is immunocompromised could go into classes virtually and feel safe. Now, one thing I would like to talk about are recent allegations of corruption within SGB, particularly regarding the board favoriting friends in terms of elections and allocations of funds. Why should the campus trust the SGB?
Yeah, so I think, and this is not the first time we've heard allegations like this. This comes up every single year. Specifically for allocations, I think my biggest thing, and our allocations committee is wonderful. They follow very strict guidelines in terms of according to our manual, in terms of, whether or not figuring out what recommendations are going to be putting forth. And so my whole thing is I want to just make sure that the allocations process means fair and equitable. And some of the things I hope to work with our allocations chair next year to kind of do is kind of creating a very short kind of guide to organizations as to the do's and don'ts when it comes to allocations, as well as outreaching more to organizations to kind of help them walk them through the process of going about. So yeah, that's my biggest plans. And in terms of the recent allegations, I think it was a lot of miscommunication that kind of took place. The situation was resolved internally. And now I'm just looking forward to moving forward and executing my vision for student government board.
Thank you so much for addressing that recent controversy. I know a lot of students were up on it, and I know you can't talk on it too much, but I really do appreciate you addressing that.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if anyone has any concerns or any other questions, I encourage you all to come up to the 8th floor of the Union to talk to us. Our door is always open, and we're always to talk to you. Yeah.
Well, That was absolutely terrific. Thank you so much for interviewing with me. I think that was very insightful. Danielle, as well as the rest of the newly elected board, will begin their terms next school year. We will then see how the student body and the university as a whole are impacted by their decisions. For Pitt to the Point, I'm political reporter Jamie Ely. Vineet, Jackie.
Thank you, Jamie, so much for that. Coming up, we have Josh Feldman and Mia Wadella giving us the grand scoop on the sports front.
Stick around and we'll be back with more on Pitt to the Point.
The University Store on 5th is more than a college bookstore. We are independently owned and operated by the university, and we've been that way for more than 100 years. The consistent campus support allows us to respond to the changing needs of our customers, provide personalized service and quality merchandise, support the university's initiatives, and represent Pitt with Panther pride.
The U-Store has all the course materials that you need. Whether you want to purchase or rent your books, or you're interested in digital materials, we can help.
Looking for the latest tech and accessories? We carry all the biggest brands. As an Apple authorized campus store, you will receive the best in educational pricing on your favorite Apple products. Plus, our repair center and student technical support are conveniently located in the store and are ready to get your tech back in working order.
Visit us to shop the latest Pitt apparel, school supplies, and the largest independent book selection in the city, all without leaving campus. And when it comes to services, visit the Center for Creativity, which offers members of the Pitt community a space to engage their hands and minds.
It's easy to shop online and pick up in store. We accept financial aid and Panther funds for your convenience. At the U-Store, we put pride in everything that we do so that you can put Panther pride in everything that you do. So stop by today and let us help you. Hail to Pitt!
One inventive tool that the University of Pittsburgh has is Pitt Funds Me. So Pitt Funds Me is for outside scholarships that you can review and apply for as well. There's 8,000 plus scholarships on that website. These scholarships have been vetted as good and reliable resources, so you can guarantee that these are not resources that are trying to steal money or trying to scam you in any way. Any student has access to this, even admitted students who have not deposited yet. When you go into your my.pitt.edu, you'll want to search in the Ask Kathy box, Pitt Funds Me, and make sure instead of an S in Pitt Funds Me, you're going to put a $sign. That will allow you to go into the portal to be able to look at all the outside scholarship opportunities that fit your specific profile. They will ask several questions. You do not have to answer all questions or any questions if you don't want to, but the more questions you answer, the more opportunities that become available to you to apply.
And we are back with Pitt to the Point live from the state-of-the-art Pitt studios. How was that, Jackie?
That was great.
Was that good? Yeah, I thought so too. The Westminster College women's basketball team ended their season strong on Wednesday night against Penn State Barron. This was in spite of facing the many challenges leading up to the Eastern College Athletic Conference Tournament semifinals.
Our city reporter, Mia Wadelja, has more. Mia?
During the President's Athletic Conference title game against Washington and Jefferson College, a W&J student athlete was found holding a sign with harmful and targeting messages in the student section. Westminster's basketball player Lindsay Bell, who is a junior at WC, shared her experience on social media, explaining that the sign displayed her father's death date and was unacceptable behavior. Washington and Jefferson College responded to the incident, announcing that the student is disenrolled from the college and removed from the football team. Westminster College publicly stated that members of the Westminster community are deeply saddened and disturbed by the events that occurred at the game. We stand by all of our Titan Strong student athletes. We expect our student athletes to lead with integrity, and we encourage passionate fan participation from both teams. But we do not condone disrespectful or hurtful actions targeted at players. Westminster College had the chance to play in Division III Eastern College Athletic Conference Tournament held at Carnegie Mellon University, where the Titans fell short against Penn State Barron. Lindsay Bell contributed 6 points and team-high 6 rebounds. I met with several parents of the Westminster women's basketball team during the team's final game. They shared their thoughts on how the Westminster community is handling the events that occurred last week. Collectively, the fans and parents agreed that they are astonished how the media responded in a positive way and glad to see that the team picked up right where they left off, playing with their hearts. The Westminster's women's basketball team, the team and the Westminster community made it their goal following the event to build up their athletes and encourage healthier fan participation, according to their statement made by the Westminster Athletic Department. The Westminster's women's basketball team wrapped their memorable season up Wednesday night. I had a chance to watch the final moments of their historic season unfold. Now let's hear from Pitt sports reporter Josh Feldman.
Spring football is in the air once again as Pat Narduzzi and the Panthers, fresh off their first conference championship win since 2010, use this spring to prepare to duplicate their efforts come this fall.
Underway, the Pitt Panthers are looking to put last season's championship behind them, keeping a fresh mindset as they aim to repeat as ACC champs, believing they can go even further this year.
Honestly, right now, the goal for us is national champions. We're working so hard. We're coming in every day, putting in that extra film, extra time, you know what I mean, just to get there. So I feel like this year the goal is the national champions.
You know, this is 2022. It's a different team. We're going to prepare the same way, Jeff, and go out and have fun and play. That's the name of the game, is get better every day, have fun, and you know, what we did last year doesn't really matter. It's not going to help us win a football game this year. You know, I think the confidence will be high, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, those were great times, but that's behind us. Now we're up to a new season, 22 new season. So we're just trying to fine-tune the little details, little things that got us there, and continue to do those same things to get there again this year.
Getting back to the ACC championship won't come without a challenge for the Panthers, who are not only working to replace Heisman candidate quarterback Kenny Pickett, but offensive coordinator Mark Whipple as well.
Offense working on, you know, some new things, you know, some old things that we've done in the past, but some really good stuff on offense, and you know, we got a lot of pieces to put together. I think that'll be the big thing. Spring ball is find out, you know, who the 2022 offense, defense, and special teams are going to be.
Right now it's been exciting. Keaton and Patty, right now they're battling it out. It's been good so far, you know what I mean? Just seeing them work and compete, and it's been good so far.
I think it's good. We had meetings and walkthroughs like all the time, and Salem helped us understand it, and we went with the quarterbacks and all the GAs, so.
Yeah, Kevin!
It was good. It made it really easy.
With some key losses this offseason and turnover expected at multiple positions, head coach Pat Narduzzi expects new leaders to emerge, naming linebacker Servakier Dennis as being one of those guys.
Servakier is maybe one of the smartest guys on the defense, if not the smartest guy in the defense. So he's great. We can challenge him mentally with a bunch of different stuff. Obviously, he's going to be huge in coaching the rest of the guys up.
Last year, it was hard trying to get into that role. But I had other leaders like Dez, Cam Bright, everybody kind of primed me into that role, and I've just been trying to take it headstrong since then. It's different and weird because when they were in the room, I was considered a young guy. Now I think the oldest guy in the room. So yeah, it was definitely weird, the new change. But those guys been in the room. They're my brothers, and they're coming along. So I'm happy.
A new-looking squad opens the door for many possibilities. We'll see what Pat Narduzzi can whip up with his team during this spring season. For Pitt to the Point, I'm Pitt sports reporter Josh Feldman. Jackie, Vinny.
Thank you so much for that, Josh. And now moving on to our Pitt Beat reporter, Ryan Derstowitz. Ryan, what have you got for us?
The Steel City Step Show, hosted by the NPHC, or the National Pan-Hellenic Council, is a dance competition between students all over the nation, including active members of the African American fraternities and sororities that we have here on campus. And it took place last weekend in the Soldiers and Sailors building on 5th Ave. This is an amazing opportunity for these groups to showcase their amazing talents and a great dance moves, as well as being a chance to win great cash prizes. Stepping is a form of dance that has cemented its part in Black history, and the Steel City Step Show does an amazing job of gathering the African American student body, not only here at Pitt, but students all over the nation, for a night of dancing and also a night of celebrating their history. The Step Show is usually a yearly event, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the show was canceled last year. This year, however, they had an amazing show, which involved some of the African American fraternities and sororities that we have here on campus. The 4 participants from Pitt in this year's show were Omega Psi Phi, Delta Sigma Theta, Phi Beta Sigma, and Alpha Phi Alpha. All 4 of these teams gave amazing performances on the night of the show, making the Steel City Step Show one of the most highlighted events that has happened so far during Greek Week at Pitt. The National Pan-Hellenic Council, or the NPHC, does a great job of putting events together for the African American Greek life at Pitt and other schools as well. Schools all over the nation came to Pittsburgh to show off their best dance moves in hopes of winning the grand prize of $1,000 and a year of bragging rights. Each team that danced did an amazing job of making this one of the best shows in recent times. The Steel City Step Show has been around for years now and has attracted some of the best step dance teams all over the country to come and dance at the historic Soldiers and Sailors building, which is located on Pitt's campus in Oakland. As time goes on, the Steel City Step Show continues to draw more and more people, and the crowd continues to grow bigger and bigger.
Phi Beta Sigma placed second and took home $500.
In the end, the grand winner of the Steel City Step Show was Alpha Phi Alpha, making it their second year in a row being the grand winner and taking home the $1,000. The Steel City Step Show is a great event for Pitt's Greek Week and also for the City of Pittsburgh as well. The Step Show is one of the many great events that happen on campus during Greek Week. If you want to get involved with any other Greek life events, visit www.studentaffairs.pitt.edu. For Pitt to the Point, I'm Pitt Beat reporter Ryan Derstowitz. Vinny, Jackie?
Thank you so much for that, Ryan. Coming up, our alumni spotlight and the scoop on entertainment and the Pitt Beat.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Pitt to the Point.
H2P is short for Hail to Pitt, our Panther fight song, but we also use it to express just how much we love it here. There are so many reasons to hail, but here are just a few. Hail to Kathy!
Hail to the Nationality Room.
To WPTS Radio.
Hail to Oakland.
Hail to Shenley Plaza.
Hail to Forbes Avenue.
Hail to the towers.
Hail to Cardiac Hill.
To Hillman Library. Hail to the University of Pittsburgh.
Hail to Pittsburgh. Hail to Heinz Field.
to Pitt!
So one inventive tool that the University of Pittsburgh has is Pitt Funds Me. So Pitt Funds Me is for outside scholarships that you can review and apply for as well. There's 8,000 plus scholarships on that website. These scholarships have been vetted as good and reliable resources, so you can guarantee that these are not resources that are trying to steal money or trying to scam you in any way. Any student has access to this, even admitted students who have not deposited yet. When you go into your my.pitt.edu, you'll want to search in the Ask Kathy box, Pitt Funds Me, and make sure instead of an S in Pitt Funds Me, you're going to put a $sign. That will allow you to go into the portal to be able to look at all the outside scholarship opportunities that fit your specific profile. They will ask several questions. You do not have to answer all questions or any questions if you don't want to, but the more questions you answer, the more opportunities that become available to you to apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pitt to the Point, your number one source for all Pitt news all the way
to the point. Pitt to the Point will air live every Friday until April 22nd from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A replay of the live broadcast will also air Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern on WPCW TV, KDKA's TV's cable channel, CBSN streaming, and on CBS Pittsburgh starting Saturdays at noon.
And this week's Alumni Spotlight centers on a key example of Pitt excellence. Intelligent, charming, and caring, this alum has got a lot going for him.
Margot Renzel has the story. Margot?
My name's John Obed. My friends called me Johnny O throughout college and throughout life. I graduated undergrad with a chemical engineering degree in 2013 and my MBA summer of 2017. I'm a project manager for a company called Niederman. They make enormous industrial air filters and things that clean air. Before this, I was a project engineer, and before that, an application engineer. My first job was in Lawrence, PA, so like Upper St. Clair, Bethel Park area. And I did a 3-year part-time program at Pitt. So Katz School of Business grad school, and then Swanson undergrad. Engineering freshman year was really hard, so I wanted to be a peer advisor just because I could, impart the advice that I wish I would have known when I was there. So I applied for a peer advising job and I got it. Then I joined the marching band, which is a huge commitment because, we practiced 2 to 4 times a week. Within the band, I was also in 2 service fraternities. On top of that, one of my other favorite organizations was the Blue and Gold Society. They're the people that are behind the Student Alumni Association and the liaisons between the students and the alumni. I feel like giving back means kind of just being there when you want to. People have events. I know a lot of people in the Alumni Association that work there full time, and their job is to keep people engaged. They want their alumni to come back, go to the games, go make friends, go abroad, go to every homecoming, make sure you come back and reunite with all of your friends, or get involved in undergrad too while you're there for homecoming, because that's the time to meet everybody. So the Rock Spirit Award, that was quite exciting to win. That one is mostly just a spirit award. So people that are very Pitt prideful, that have done a lot when they were in the university and still continue to come back and give back. You should definitely study and do well. You're there to get good grades. But if you focus too much on that and you don't go out and do things, you'll miss out on, what you should be doing at Pitt and making the most of your time there. So get involved and do fun things.
Thank you so much for that, Margot. Wow, Jackie, it's folks like John who really help inspire us to push ourselves to be our best.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more, Vineet. John is truly the whole package. Well done, and way to embody the spirit of Pitt.
All right, our next segment is pretty interesting. We've all played or at least heard of the game Monopoly and its many, many variations.
That's right, Vineet. But now it seems that a new Pittsburgh-themed version of the famous board game is in the works.
Ooh, and our entertainment reporter, Livia Rappaport, has more. Livia?
Thanks, guys. Hasbro has announced a Pittsburgh-themed Monopoly board to be released this fall. What's more, Pittsburghers themselves will be able to submit their own suggestions of Pittsburgh locations and icons to be featured. Earlier this week, I went out and asked some Pittsburgh residents what kinds of things they want to see.
There is a Monopoly board themed after Pittsburgh coming to town. Okay. So have you ever played Monopoly before?
I have.
Have you ever played Monopoly? As a child, yes. What kinds of things do you want to see in a Pittsburgh-themed Monopoly board?
Probably the cathedral. Kathy.
You gotta include, what's the place called? Romantic Rose? Or like
You like own the bridges or something?
Yeah, you own the bridges.
That's funny.
I want to see the dinosaur.
Probably this place. Oh, HC House. What would jail be?
I guess jail would be any freshman biology class. And then when you go in jail, it should be like an alcohol citation. I want Kenny Pickett to be one of the people to move around the board.
Can the pickle be a token?
Yeah, I like the pickle too.
That would be so nice.
Or like a pierogi or something.
What about you? What do you want to see? What do you want to see at Pittsburgh Monopoly board? What do you think? What do you think, buddy?
We heard a lot of great suggestions out there. I know I'm hoping to see the Cathedral of Learning or the Boulevard of the Allies. Personally, I've never actually played Monopoly before, but this seems like a great chance to learn. The board will be the 9th in a series of Monopoly boards based on U.S. cities. To submit your suggestions, email pittsburgh@toptrumps.com before March 30th. From Pitt to the Point, I'm your entertainment reporter, Livia Rappaport. Jackie and Vinny?
Thank you for that fascinating story, Livia. Now, Vineet, how's your Monopoly game?
My Monopoly game? Well, I usually go bankrupt within the first round, so I don't think I'm a good source for that. What about you, Jackie?
I can hold my own, Vineet, but I do have a good Monopoly fun fact. Did you know that more Monopoly money is printed each year in the U.S. than real U.S. dollars?
I don't know whether to laugh or to cry with that. You know what I wish? I wish I could use Monopoly money to pay for my rent.
Well, Monopoly is estimated to have made around $1.4 billion since its existence. So they could be generous and throw that your way.
That would be generous. You know what would also be generous is to give that top hat guy some real hair on his head instead of just the white mustache. What's his name? Wendell?
I couldn't tell you. What is that your go-to piece?
He looks like a Wendell to me. His face is very round.
What do you have a go-to purchase of property?
What is there a Liberty Avenue on there? Liberty Avenue. That's my go-to. Maybe the railroads. I don't know what the point of those is. I don't know. But anyways, that was very interesting. Hopefully, I'm really excited for that. But folks, that's all we have for today.
Thank you so much for tuning in this morning to Pitt to the Point, your #1 news source for all things happening at Pitt, all the way
to the point. And a huge thank you to our partners, KDKA and CBSN, for their incredible support. Once again, I'm Vineet Joshi.
And I'm Jacqueline Napier.
Thanks for joining us on Pitt to the Point.